Well, greetings, friends. I'm Paul Thompson, and I'm with my good buddy Steve.Autrey. We are pastors, believe it or not. Many people have a hard time believing that, but we are. I'm the pastor at Huntersville United Methodist Church, one of the pastors there. And Steve.Autrey, where do you pastor? What
I
church?
am one of the pastors over here at Denver United Methodist Church. So we have the western side of the lake covered, and I know you've got that southeastern quadrant pretty much tacked down over there.
You are. Well, we greet you on a day that is known throughout the church and maybe the world as Ash Wednesday. And we thought we'd spend a few minutes today just reflecting upon the meaning of Ash Wednesday, as Ash Wednesday is the beginning of a season called Lent. So, Steve, I know you have all the church background and Greek and Hebrew memorized and all that. So, what in the world? Where do we get a word called Lent, and what's this Ash Wednesday stuff all about?
Well, we kind of joke with each other. Neither of us grew up in liturgical churches. I had never encountered the practice of Lent until the fall of 1993 when I was a student at Duke Divinity School. How about you? When's the first time you practiced Lent
So
or
when
observed Lent? I don't know what the proper terminology is, but
yeah, when I married a good Methodist, and we got married in 1988. Started going to the United Methodist Church, and they started throwing in these words like Lent and Ash Wednesday, and I was like, this whole Southern Baptist boy doesn't get that. So
it is
uh,
a different vocabulary.
it
But
is a
Lent comes from, and this is just me thinking off the top of my head. Thanks for putting me on the spot, but I'm pretty sure it comes from the Latin word that translates as spring.
Lincoln is an
See, look at you asking me questions you know the answer to. Who's
yeah.
putting who to the test here?
Well, I'm always trying to poke and prod you and try to make you look bad. So, so yeah, the word Lent has no biblical grounding per se. It really means more about spring as we think about the
Yeah,
days are getting longer.
but 40 is a big time biblical number. And
40 is
Lent
big.
has 40 days, and the early church practiced a season leading up to Easter, 40 days, not counting Sundays, where those who were converts to the faith would be prepared to be received into the fullness of fellowship on Easter,
Yeah.
and prepare for baptism. So that idea of preparation, of intentionality with one's faith, growing in one's faith, it's long been a part of the church history. I'm not sure when we formalized any type of understanding and called it Lent. It certainly would have been probably after Constantine and the Nicene Creed and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for a long time, let's put it that way, generations, hundreds of years, this practice of Lent has been a season of preparation. And for me, I've always found I need Lent to, it's kind of like a recalibration. It's a little bit of a reminder of just, hey, it's a great way to get back on course. Pay attention to where you are, check yourself, and get right. So, what about you? How about your experience with it?
Well, I liken it, we have Christmas, and man, Christmas is not only a big religious holiday, but a big cultural celebration. And we spend months getting ready, with
Yep.
the stores start advertising Christmas stuff right
About now,
right after Halloween.
right?
And so there's this big build up to the very important, very great holy day called Christmas. Well, the church, we really are Easter people. We're not. Christmas is great, but we are Easter people. Easter is the very definition of who we are. We are resurrection people. And so this build up, this intentional turning of our hearts and our minds toward first a cross, but then also a resurrection is what Lent is all about. It is a way for us to make preparation, not just in our homes and our churches, but in our hearts for this unmistakable reality that what God has done in first Good Friday, but then on Easter Sunday. Well, that's our story. That's who
Yeah.
we are.
And in the practice of Lent, it can be easy to trivialize it. And I think some people have done that. For instance, uh, you'll may bump into somebody who like they've given up soft drinks for Lent or
Or
given up
dessert.
chocolate or
Yeah.
dessert. I remember a song that there was a line in there, I gave up paying bills for Lent. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's easy to make it not what it's supposed to be. It's not about a new diet. It's not about, it's about spending intentional time with God. And I know from some conversations we've had that you're learning some things about the importance of just being still in the presence of God, which is something
I,
it's very difficult to do actually. And our resident bishop, Bishop Carter, his Lenten message today, and you can find that on the conference website. He talks about, can you spend 7 minutes sitting with God in silence? Just 7 minutes. So tell me a little bit about that idea that just to sit with God, not to work at it, not to, I don't know, not to say 50 Hail Marys in 7 minutes, but to sit.
Yeah, so most of my ministry career, man, I think I'm a good teacher. I love to teach the scriptures, and I've always felt like transformation can occur when we, get a little deeper into the story and understand the message of the Gospels and all of that. And then last week I went to a retreat. I went to a training opportunity to kind of work on spiritual direction and recognize that a lot of my lack of growth becomes because I have ignored some of the weightier things like silence, meditation, really contemplation. So I really enjoyed the experience and offered to a couple of groups already what one of the things that I learned, and that's called the daily examine. It's grounded in St. Ignatius of Loyola teaching that he did from his spiritual exercises. And
And by the way,
um,
you can pick
there's
this
a, if you want to
up
Google it,
anywhere.
yeah.
Uh, yeah,
So
there's a
just
lot of
Google St.
resources for that.
Ignatius Daily Examen, Examen, and there's 5 steps that where my wife and I are starting to practice, and I offer to you if you want a really holy Lenten observance, don't just give up maybe ice cream or dessert or something like that, but really take on that intentional time of silent prayer, really contemplation, reflection on first thing is what are we thankful for? And most of us would say, well, I'm grateful for family. I'm grateful for, my church. Well, can you name them? Can you name every member of your family? And God, I'm grateful for every person. I'm grateful for my church, but I'm grateful for my pastor, Steve.Autrey. I'm grateful for my associate pastor, David.Wascho. I'm grateful for Courtney. I'm grateful for all of those. Really, to list those by name. And when we do that, the not only do we grow the list, but it's much more expansive. We recognize that God's blessings are so limitless. So, second step in that daily examine is, where, God, where are you trying to teach me? Where are you trying to lead me? And then number 3, we certainly begin to, hey, where did I fail today? Where would I want to do better tomorrow? What conversation do I wish I'd have not had or not participated in? And then, fourth is what am I going to do differently tomorrow? And so among these steps, I submit to you, Google them, try to follow them best you can. I think we can probably do it in
You said
five,
there,
10 minutes.
you said there are 5 steps?
I think there's 5 steps. I'm pretty sure I just missed one and forgot one to mention, but that's why I'm saying look it up. But they're nothing very strenuous, just things
Well,
that we would probably want to do anyway.
well, and one of the things I think that can thwart a prayer life is feeling like you have to have some kind of extraordinary experience in that time. Uh, and getting and people, if you're always looking for that, you're going to be frustrated with it. I think more than anything else is repetition. It's like most things in life. If you want to grow in it, you're going to have to repeat over and over and over. Um, I know you are a world-class tennis player. How
Oh
many
my goodness. Yes. So strong.
how many times have you practiced hitting a tennis ball? Uh, so uh, but one of the things that's helped me in the last several weeks is a simple app called Lectio 365, and it provides prayer prompts and a way to center yourself at in the morning, at midday, and at night. And if you struggle with that, you can even push play, and someone with a really great British accent will take you through it.
They always sound smart, don't they?
They always sound smart. I don't know. It's too bad. If I were gifted with a British accent, you wouldn't be able to stand me. Um,
Oh,
so
you'd be so smart. We couldn't. Yeah.
the but it what has happened is I've done this because I found coming out of Christmas I was tired. Um, then we did have a series of really hard deaths in this congregation, a heavy pastoral care load. Uh, and being with people in those deep places of hurt is not easy, as you know. And I had gotten to where I was not being very attentive to my own spiritual development, my own time of prayer. And I had done this before. It was on my phone. I just like, well, okay, I'm just going to do this. And then to start and to make that space over and over and over again, it really does make a difference.
It
Not
does.
just, praying, and it's not that I wasn't praying, it was I wasn't praying very intentionally. So, and part of this exercise is to spend time to pause and reflect. It's where it starts. And the instruction is to gather your scattered thoughts and center them on God. And my thoughts can be scattered. Our Buddhist friends call it monkey brain
Mm.
when they're trying to teach meditation. And I know that it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to have a million things going on in your head. So it does take a type of discipline to settle into being open and attentive to these times of prayer. So I encourage our folks. I mean, so if let's just say here you are, you're looking as you go, yeah, you two pastors, you're paid to do this. That's what your job is. What do you say to someone who's busy with work, home life, uh, doctor's appointments, just everything that can happen in the midst of life? What do you say to them about developing a prayer practice?
So the purpose of life, as I understand it, is to love and be loved, and love and to be loved is grounded in our relationship with God. One of the spiritual practices that we participated in over the last week was to really kind of close our eyes and our minds, be able to um, look and imagine Jesus looking at us with gazing, adoring eyes and says, I love you. And for a lot of us, that's man, it's like really, can I even go there? Can I do that? And
Or,
then the
or
second
that
step
makes me feel
would,
less manly somehow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we know that the first commandment of God is to love God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, but then to love your neighbor as yourself. And the key there is you have to love yourself in order to be able to love others. And and we practiced, and this was really, really difficult for me to look at my own life, my own self, and say, I love you, Paul Thompson. And it sounds even a little strange to say it that way, but that's where the love of self begins so that we can begin to love. So if the Lent journey is a journey to of love, it begins with love of God, begins with a love of ourselves so that we can then love neighbors. Um, I just hope, however you can do it,
Well,
contemplation, silence, reflection really is a healthy beginning.
well, and I think Ash Wednesdays, the reason we start with this is it is a reminder that we easily stray. And it is a call to examine where you are. And if we're honest with ourselves, we have more time than we realize. If we audit our
Mm.
use of time, just look at it, your phone every week, or here's how much screen time you use this week. Can you give a little of that? You have, and to think in terms not of, oh, the not starting by with the aspiration that you're going to be a spiritual giant, but start with a micro habit. Start with the small things. That's the nature of life. That's the nature of growth. That's the way our physical bodies work. It's also the way our spiritual selves work. And if I were to go and
Yeah.
try to
So
run,
Tam and I have been trying to do that. Yeah, Tam and I have been trying to do that this week. Just the 5, 10 minutes even before we
yeah,
turn off lights, go to bed is walk through this daily examine together, and just how grateful I am for her and the good life we share, and then we've been kind of just enumerating those blessings, and then thinking about those 5 steps of the daily examine. And not only do I feel closer to God after that, feel closer to her,
right.
and feel a certain joy of life associated with that.
Well, so open the door. Um, even if you can just manage a small crack, but do it consistently and see if God doesn't inhabit the space more and more, and you will begin to not see it as a burden or a chore. It will become um, it just as it will become like fresh water. And
Mhm.
we all know what it feels like to be thirsty. And when you get to the a nice, clean, fresh glass of water, the relief that that brings to our physical selves and even our emotions, that's how prayer begins to transform. And so, again, start small, allow God to open it up, and because it is God's doing. Sometimes we think we have to concentrate with all our mind and we have to make something happen. No, we're called to put ourselves in a position where our will is open for what God wants to do, and let God do it. But do your best to
One of the
cooperate.
great lessons that emerged from Yeah, one of the great lessons emerged for me last week was if you're doing it out of duty, stop it. If you're doing anything out of a sense of duty with God, whether I'm having to volunteer at the church, or I'm having to do this,
Mhm.
stop it. Don't do it, because the joy's not there. But if we can
The
find
world doesn't
ourselves
need
that
any more grumpy ushers, does it?
no, no, Lord, no. Do it out of joy and gratitude, and if you don't have to do it, just stop it. And even in this experience that we're talking about, if you find, I feel burdened by this, I don't want to do it. I'm just doing it because I think it pleases God. Stop. Just don't. But if you can find your way to a heart that is, God, I do want to draw closer. I do want to get rid of some of this anxiety
Well, and
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 and just
and
burden.
trust that God will help you develop that
Mhm.
desire. God wants nothing more for
Yeah.
us, and those are gifts that can only come from God. So we're wrapping up this conversation here. Again, Ash Wednesday. By the time you see this, we'll already be into Lent by a day or two. So what we want to do collectively here between Paul and myself is to post a podcast every week through Lent, and we'll just hit on different themes of prayer. And there are so many different ways to draw closer to God, spiritual practices that beyond prayer, but prayer's key to it. And hopefully over the next several weeks we'll talk about how to read scripture and listen to it differently. Talk about have you ever tried to fast? All these things that are spiritual disciplines that have been proven mechanisms by the church throughout the years to open up ourselves to a deeper experience with Christ. So, Paul, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, that fasting thing, that fasting thing is a little worrisome. I might need to experience a little fasting. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not, it's, yeah, we can talk more about that later. But
Yeah.
just this Sunday at Denver, we'll be having regular schedule, 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock. And we'll be looking at the temptation of Jesus in the wilderness from Matthew's gospel. So how about things over at Huntersville?
Yeah, so we'll have our typical 8:30 and 10:30 service, and we too, it's lectionary text, Jesus in the wilderness with the Satan, from Matthew 4, 1 through 11, a truly mind-boggling text when you think about it. What this passage is telling us is just really, really quite amazing story.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will see you soon. Thank you for watching. And if you
All right,
get
my
a chance,
brother.
if those out there in the viewer land, if you get a chance, like it, share it, all those things we're supposed to say at the end of a podcast. So God bless you, and we will talk to you soon.
Take care. Happy Lent.
I don't know if you can have a happy Lent, but
Well,
have a good Lent.
yeah, have a healthy Lent.
Yeah, have a Christ-centered Lent. God bless you all.